At the beginning of the story, we will be in Switzerland. An old man entered a bank and started firing the person there. But even though he was shot, he wasn't affected. He entered the bank safes and blew up a locker. The old man looking for is not money, but an ancient coins. When the old man is out, he is shinned over many times, but still unaffected. Outside, he entered a car with a man. When the man revokes his necklace, the old man is dead. Then the man sees the coin that has just been stolen. Looks like this is the practice of black magic. Meanwhile, in a small town in Spain, on a cattle farm, a cow was giving birth. But the problem was that comes out of this cow is a human baby. This birth is witnessed many people and certainly makes them confused and also scared. The next day, the mayor of the city named Paco was in the animal slaughterhouse. He was told about the birth of the baby, so he left his wife with the journalist who was covering it. Rapidly, Paco went to the farm and checked the baby with his own eyes. Paco banned everyone to spread this news before he knows what really happened. The veterinarian named Elena, who helped birth to this child, suggested to report the police. But Paco rejects it because this news can spread. Because of this incident away from normal situation, I decided to go to the church to ask the pastor. This pastor named Mr. Padre Manuel Vergara, who is a new pastor in this city. Manuel checked the recording of the cattle birth overnight. In the footage, Elena went out, so her camera didn't show the cow. And then that there are people who put this baby into the cow's belly, Manuel argued. Of course, Elena denied it, because for whatever the one did this. But if it's true, the real question is, who the one wants to get rid of this baby? Manuel, Paco, and Elena go to a cafe, while the baby will be taken care of the parents who don't have children. There, Paco followed his wife named Merch. Merch curious what happened, but Paco didn't tell her. Paco is back, and they discussed about who the possibility of the person who discarded the baby. However, they don't find anything. The cafe waitress suppled and informed that her schoolmates didn't go to school for a week. She also often meets her lover. She suspected her schoolmates about this case. They went to her house and met her father named Jesus. Paco asked about his daughter, but he replied that his daughter was sick. Jesus is a religious person, so he is a tight father. Jesus called his daughter, who was normal to look, and asked about the possibility that she was pregnant, but only heard this made Jesus angry. His daughter denied this, then Jesus spoke Paco and Elena even to fight. But at the same time, the amniotic fluid Jesus' daughter broke. It turns out that Jesus' daughter hid her pregnancy. This means that Jesus' daughter is pregnant, but she has not given birth. So it was not she's a suspect in cow birth human baby case. The next day, Paco and Elena returned to check the footage of birth cattle video, and they saw Antonio, who was a madman. At the same time, Antonio is in the church. He ransacked Manuel's stuff that hid a lot of heavy weapons. Manuel spoke him, but Antonio said that they had to hide it. Antonio is a priest friend before Manuel, and he knows that in this church there is a secret room used as hide room when the wartime. Manuel can save his weapon here. In the evening, Paco and the others go looking for Antonio, who live in the cave. In the cave it has many religious objects, because Antonio is a religious person. There, they found an exorcist guidebook. But Antonio can't read, so for what Antonio has this book. Suddenly, they heard the church's bell. They went to check it out, and in roof of the tower, there was Antonio carrying babies born of cows. Antonio said, if this baby is a devil's shipment and should be removed. Quickly, Manuel and a policeman tried to stop it. But Antonio replied that he just did what the Manuel should be doing. But Elena is also there, and because of Elena is good to him, Antonio wants to listen to Elena and gives the baby. But Antonio said that he would redeem Manuel's sin, then he jumped and landed on the car. At the same time, Paco found writing as what Antonio said before. Looks like Antonio follows the instructions of this book. Elena cleaned the stuff on the ground and found an ancient coins like at the beginning of the series. She kept it in the box, but she didn't give it to Manuel. Time passed. Mercha, who dislikes Manuel, looked for her information on Google and found that Manuel is an exorcist section in the church. He has a criminal record because his exorcisms have killed his patient, and he was also imprisoned. Murchie thinks that Manuel who told Antonio to do the previous crazy thing so he could be famous. But Paco felt that Manuel wasn't such a person like that. The next day, Elena met the Manuel, and she also already knows information about Manuel on the internet. Manuel didn't argue her, but the victim died because of heart attack. Elena never believes the devotivitude of the devil. Manuel explains that the devil is not only in the human being, but also the stuffed things like coins. Hearing this, Elena shows the coins she discovers last night. Manuel explained that this coin was removed from the hands of the child he was exorcising. Of course, this is hard to believe, but Manuel sees it directly. Manuel didn't want to save this coin, so he gave it to Elena. At the same time, Paco and a policeman named Laguna met them. They were detained, as it was possible that if the Antonio had told the previous crazy thing was Manuel. This crazy thing never happened in this city, and all this happened after Manuel came. Manuel denied him, but he also didn't know what happened. Elsewhere, Elena is called to the house of the ranch owner named Alonso. He explained that his son died while child. His wife is very happy when she can take care of the baby-born cow, but he thinks that this boy is not human. Alonso took Elena to meet his wife named Carmen. Carmen let her child's room like before her son died. He looked at this baby as a miracle that God sent to her. Elena asked where the baby was, but Carmen replied that the baby could have run. From the darkness, Elena sees the 2-year-old baby is adequate as adults. Quickly, Elena encountered Paco and informed about this baby. Elena worried about Alonso and Carmen and wanted them to go check it out. The day was dark and they were on the way, but Paco instead of Elena to her home because it's now late at night. At Elena Place, Paco saw Elena's photo with her husband, but Elena's husband disappeared 2 years ago and was not just telling him. Elena reports the police, but they even laughed at her, because of the possibility between one of them is having an affair. Paco plans to go home, but outside he saw a gossiping neighbors, because Paco came to Elena's place at late night. Most of these city residents are religious, so it looks as if Paco is having an affair with Elena. Elsewhere, Manuel was released and was in his home. Manuel considers the child who he expericist named Giacomo. Giacomo was tied up while raging, while Manuel could just pray for him. Suddenly from Giacomo's arrows appearing the coin without the blood. Soon, he died. Meanwhile, Alonso checked the baby, and he knew that there was a strange thing. His wife didn't feel something weird, and her hands were filled in blood. Carmen said she was just preparing food for the baby. Alonso wants to call Elena, but Carmen doesn't like it. And suddenly Carmen attacked her husband by poking him many times until he fell. Elsewhere, Elena is still curious to go to Paco's house. Elena wants them to go to Alonso's house because worried, but Paco still thinks to go tomorrow. Elena decided to go alone, but therefore Paco was no choice to come with her. As they got at Alonso's house, the place was filled with a rope such as a spider nest. They broke into and found Alonso's body that had been wrapped in a net. When they will go up there, they see Carmen. They wanted to check the baby, but Carmen instead attacked Paco by poking him so they both fell. Paco was caught Carmen, while Elena could escape. Elena plans to seek help, and fortunately he meets with Manuel and Laguna, who has also had the same things. Shortly then, they came and see the body of Alonso and Paco that wrapped in a net. Manuel and police came in, but Carmen welcomed them. Now, Carmen is being admitted and said that Manuel can't escape from her. It seems like this is going to be related to Manuel. Carmen attacked Manuel and could point out and made it helpless. Laguna has no other choice unless shoot Carmen. Shortly then, the ambulance came. Paco and Carmen are still alive, so they will be taken to the hospital. Meanwhile, Elena went to the baby room, but what she found was the skin that was empty, like Snake changed the skin. There is Manuel who said anything Elena see today, she has to deny it. Elsewhere, in the ambulance where Paco and Carmen are, suddenly Carmen got up and pulled out a creepy spider thing. Soon, a small spider monster came up and made this ambulance car accident, until it was upside down. Carmen escaped, while Paco and his wife were injured to be so bad. Meanwhile, Manuel and Elena go to the church, and then Manuel shows the secret space where he saves many of his weapons. To attack the magic creature, they should use silver bullets. But at the same time, Carmen came to the church. In her original voice, Carmen begged the Manuel to give what they wanted, or they would force him to kill Manuel. Manuel rejected her, so Carmen, who was entered, attacked him until he down helpless. Elena, who is fear, can only hide. Carmen told Elena to persuade Manuel to give her coins, but when Elena shows the coin, Carmen attacks her. But Manuel could save her, and without hesitation shooting Carmen with silver bullets many times and killed her. Then Manuel carried Carmen's corpse out, but at the same time, there is a monster approaching Elena's hideout. Elena was attacked, while this scary monster could point it out, but after Elena destroyed Carmen's spider, the monster was raging and go away. A month later, in the middle of a few teenagers did the guts of play the Ouija board in the funeral. The board instructions move and introduce that his name is Giacomo, the same name as the boy whom Manuel exorcised. As they ask if he is in heaven or in hell, Giacomo replied that he was here. And suddenly, the candles goes out and make this place very dark. When they turn on the flash, one of those named Sol suddenly disappeared. They reported to the police, then local people do a search, but they cannot find it. The next day, Elena was with a man named Roque, who was rich. Roque explains that those mom is his former employee who died because of suicide. They came to Sol's father to ask about Sol. Sol's father explained that night, they communicate with the Italian spirit named Giacomo. Hearing this, Elena went to one of the Sol's friends named Elvira, who was there that night when Sol disappeared. Elena then asked for more details about that night. Then Elena went to the church to meet Manuel. Elena tells about Giacomo and thinks Manuel is related with the Sol loss, but of course Manuel denied it. In the evening, Sol's friends are discussing Sol in their WhatsApp group. But suddenly Sol replied with an unclear word. Sure with this, they think that Sol is fine. Suddenly Sol called one of her friends. She said that they had to do the Ouija board again, because it was the only way for her to return. Elsewhere, Elvira came to Elena and told her about Sol, who asked them to play Ouija again. Elvira invites Elena to a warehouse, because tonight is raining, so they can't do it in the funeral. They have not started yet, but the glasses are moving by itself. This glass said that it wants to talk to Elena. Elena then followed its order, and the Ouija board wanted Elena to give him a coin. At a glance, she saw some people dressed red and made it surprised, and suddenly this room became dark. When the light back on, then Sol has returned. The next day, Sol went to the Sinforce scholarship with priest Manuel. Sol said that Manuel's friend asked him to restore their coins. It seems after Sol back, her body is controlled by people who are always watching this ancient coin. But when going home, Sol tells a man if he will die. Hearing this man panicked and got a heart attack, and soon later, he died. Sol tells Elvira that she can see like aura on people. Aura the person is red and almost black means it will soon die. Sol shows that outside there are men who brought flowers who will also die soon. Hearing this, Elvira tells Elena if Sol can see the death of a person. She tells that the man who brought the flower will die soon. When they didn't say anything, and soon this man hit the truck that killed him. Soon, Sol's father called Manuel to speak with Sol, but they found Sol were trying to suicide, and they managed to save her on time. Sol said that Manuel had to give the coin or Sol will die. In the midnight, Sol came to Manuel's house. With a relaxing, Sol gave her finger that she cut to threaten Manuel to give the coin. Sol continues to hurt herself to threaten Manuel to give the coins they want. Manuel invited Sol to go to Elena's house, because the current coin was in Elena's hand. But there they can't find the coin. While Manuel could feel the coin, but he didn't tell Sol. Soon Elena and Roque came to her house. Sol said that who wiped her was Manuel, so Roque was detained him. But suddenly Sol stabbed Roque, and then Manuel could hold her. Manuel forbid Elena to give the coins. Sol's consciousness back, and she was very scared. Suddenly the roof of this house was destroyed and made them dragged up, but Sol could fight the magic back and made this room back as before. The next day, Roque woke up at the hospital even though his condition was very bad, but he still could survive, and also with soul. The time passed. In this city was being held a wedding at the hotel owned by Paco and his wife. But the problem is, this wedding cake is still not set up. Elsewhere, the person who brought the cake is still on the way, and the condition is currently very bad, and he has an accident. Paco, who was told, coming to the scene while bringing the wedding man's wife. The man's wife explains that they bought apartments above them to expand their business. This apartment has never been opened for 50 years. When the man cleans the apartment, there is a mirror that makes him being crazy. The next day, Paco and Elena checked the mirror, and they realized that in the mirror they saw a book. But when turned to look at the table, no book on it. Elena took a picture of the book written in Greek. After they searched for information, this book is the Gospel of Judas. This scribed book, who the church say not the inspiration of God. From one of picture of the Gudbling of the Gospel of Judas, there was a sentence explaining that Jesus was made Judas to betray him, so Jesus could be crucified. Paco asked Manuel, and Manuel know about the Gospel of Judas. The essence of this gospel is Jesus asks Judas to betray him for the miracle of Jesus can be raised. Judas is considered the greatest saintly for sacrificing themselves to Jesus to meet his destiny. But because this story can make doubt and controversy, the church also covers this from public. Then, Paco and Manuel back to the mirror place were where Elena was still there. Manuel cannot explain what happened. The door in the mirror is open, while here, in reality, is closed. When Manuel played the door, in the mirror Manuel wasn't holding the door. Manuel decided to spend the night here alone to check this mirror. What he did just sit in front of this mirror. Outside, Paco shows that he has installed CCTV cameras without telling Manuel. They want to know if this mirror is the manual action. Overnight, Paco and Elena continue to look at the CCTV screen on their mobile phone. But when they fall asleep, Manuel also fell asleep in the front of the mirror. But himself from the mirror got up and looked at him with a smile. The next day, Paco and Elena returned and woke up the Manuel, who fell asleep. Paco shows CCTV recordings that show its reflection in the moving mirror, but from the other side of the mirror also see someone. The next day, they returned and found Manuel, who would destroy the mirror, but they could stop it. Suddenly, the Manuel's reflection in the mirror speaks and wants to talk to him, only just with him. After Elena and Paco go, Manuel destroys the CCTV camera there so Paco cannot see it. Manuel from the mirror shows the body of Giacomo, which is Manuel trauma. Suddenly, Giacomo got up and forced Manuel entered the mirror, while the fake Manuel came out of the mirror. At the same time, Paco and Elena managed to break the door without knowing that Manuel had exchanged the body. Fake Manuel invites Paco and Elena to the church. He explained that the church collected the stuff of Jesus and the saints. These items can provide strength. The people who collected this coin are collecting the stuff that once hurt Jesus, like the nail of the cross, a sharp thorn in the crown, the spear that pierced Jesus, and 30 Judas coins. As information, Judas is one of Jesus' disciples who betrayed Jesus, so he was crucified. In return, Judas paid 30 pieces of coins, but then Judas died for suicide, and 30 coins were been hunted everyone. Back to the story, Manuel suggested Elena to give the coin to her for make it safe. Elena replied that she would bring the coin in her home. At home, Elena feel that Manuel she meet is fake. In the evening, Manuel came to Elena's house, but she did not believe him. When she approached, Elena saw the Manuel watch was flipped, so even if she was confident that he was fake. Elena pushed Manuel, but he wasn't respond and fight back. Manuel collected the citizens of the city, while Paco and Elena went to the mirror place. With the mirror help, Elena can hold the book on the table. With the book, they broke the mirror, showing the same room but reverse or flipped. They can enter the mirror and explore it. They got in a very luxurious room. There they saw some red-dressed people with Manuel tied up in front of them. The leaders of these people are men named Santoro. Santoro asked where the coins, but Manuel didn't answer. Elena shows the coin, so they are guarded and Manuel can free themselves. In another place, fake Manuel leads local people to the Elena clinic. They destroyed the clinic, even burned it. After being completed, they came out, including merch. But suddenly fake Manuel disappeared. This is because the real Manuel has been out of the mirror safely. For knowing that these coins are dangerous, Elena decides to throw these coins into the river. A few days later, Paco collected the locals who burned Elena clinics. They all are aware that they burned Elena clinics, but they didn't know why. Because it cannot be explained, they think that this is a practice of magic. All of this happens after Manuel comes to this city. Merchi explained that Manuel had been imprisoned, and she proposed a locals people to begle the bishop to send a new pastor. And everyone approves this. At the same time, Manuel is in the airplane, going to Italy. Flashback to 1990, young Manuel is with two friends. One of them is Santoro, while other friends are Sandro. The three of them came to Rome to become a priest. While the exorcist class, the lecturer showed the woman who was being involved by the devil and how to do exorcists, as they do in the centuries until now. Manuel asked why we shouldn't hear the devil's words. By recognizing the enemy and could understand what they want, it can facilitate it, and of course it can help to fight it. But this traditional lecturer thinks that the Manuel's question was stupid. Manuel didn't understand after centuries against the devil, but the chunks of the church are just doing this guide. Manuel thinks that Satan must be very stupid if it can continue to be resisted in the same way. Because of this, Manuel is expelled from the class. Santoro invites Manuel and Sandro, because there is something he wants to show. Santoro shows a man who is tied up in a storage. This man has been tied for 2 months, and Santoro takes care of him here. Just like Manuel, Santoro curious and wants to communicate with the devil. This man is named Angelo, and he is being tranced and possessed. Sandro is not interested and trying to do exorcist to him. But what Sandro did didn't in effect anything. Angelo knows all about Manuel, even his childhood memories. Sandro asked if he was strong, why he didn't free himself. Angelo took a fire from his breathing mouth to burn Sandro, but Santoro and Manuel could turn off the fire. Sandro is still alive, but half his face burned. Angelo explains that he works for God. Santoro is interested and asks if there is only one Satan or there is a lot of demons. Santoro asked Angelo to meet with his leader. Angelo replied that Santoro just needs to enter a door. Santoro opened the door that only shows the bright light. But when Manuel opened it, he only saw another empty storage room. In this room, he also couldn't find Angelo. Back to the present, Manuel came to a prison to see Sandro assigned there. Manuel explained that Santoro hunted him. Sandro suggests Manuel go to a place away from its range, such as war zones. Elsewhere, Paco went to Elena's house, but it was Elena already decided that she would go from this city. In addition to the local people who burned his clinic, there was also her charges of perseverance with Paco, and also her husband suddenly disappeared. Elena will go with Roque and work elsewhere. In the evening, an old woman came to a rice field. Inside there is a wallet containing Elena's photo and her husband. This old woman spilled the liquid around the rice fields. Soon, the appearance of the flesh of this scarecrow. The next day, this scarecrow turned into humans. He went to Elena's house, then bathed, and the scarecrow become to be Elena's husband, who disappeared 2 years ago. Elsewhere, Elena and Roque have already been in the airport prepared to go to France. But at the same time, Paco and Laguna followed her. He tells that her husband has returned. In another place, Manuel met the Pope in a secret room. The Pope has known about the coin and agrees that this coin should be destroyed. Pope wants Manuel to report all about this coin on his trust man, who was Santoro. Santoro entered Manuel to the prison and still forced him to hand over the coin, but Manuel didn't say anything. Meanwhile, Elena was back and was very happy after meeting her husband after 2 years. Of course, the return of Elena's husband became a distinction of the city. Jesus also heard this news and he was surprised. Maybe he thought that was impossible. He searches for Elena, and when he met her husband, made him very scared. Jesus became hysterical and locks himself in the toilet, and Paco asks what happened. Jesus said that Elena's husband shouldn't be here. Elsewhere, Manuel was brought and shown in Santoro's members and was introduced as his best friend. Santoro has collected 29 coins and just need to collect one more Judas coin. Surely, Manuel denied and didn't want to join the Santoro group. Santoro invites Manuel to the archive in the Vatican. What wants Santoro show is the time Jesus was born, 3 wishes visited him to give him a gift. They give a magic book about the guide to make miracles and how to become God. In addition, Santoro also shows the script of the gospel written by Jesus. Manuel is allowed to read this Bible if he wants to join Santoro. As information out of this series story universe, that Jesus doesn't write the Bible, but his disciples. Manuel agreed to join, and Santoro showed Sandro being beaten for sneaking to save Manuel. Santoro asked Manuel to kill Sandro, but Manuel chose stabbing Santoro, then they escaped. Santoro is still alive, and he recapses a spell to his man who Sandro killed. His body was swarmed and enlarged. As it would explode, a large monster walked in the sky, chasing Sandro and Manuel to the museum. The monster coals catch Sandro and split his body. When the monster off guard, Manuel could kill this monster by poking him with the spear used to stab Jesus when crucified. Santoro is alive, while Manuel chose to leave. Elsewhere, Paco saw Jesus carrying a rifle. Jesus entered the Elena house, but Laguna and Paco came and shooting Jesus' hands. Jesus said that he accidentally shot Elena's husband to death when hunting 2 years ago. Meanwhile, Elena is on the way with her husband, but suddenly her husband asked about Judas coins. Elena is aware that the man with her now is not her husband. Elena's husband attacked her, so she told him that she had thrown away the coin. Elena was fight back, so their car fell to the river. Elena was unconscious, while her husband took her away to a gas station. Elena's husband steals the car in there. In another place, Paco digs the land where Jesus said this where he bored Elena's husband, and there Paco found a human skull. At the same time, Elena sent him a message asking for help. Elena has come to where she throws the coin. Elena's husband said that the coin will return to Elena, but it took many years. Do not want to wait. He wants them to look for it right now. But at the same time, Paco and Laguna managed to come on time and save Elena, who almost abandoned in the dam. Elena's husband fell, while she managed to survive. Meanwhile, in Paris, Roque and his friend are eating at the Japanese restaurant. But when the chef split the fish, he found Judas's coins. Roque realized the coin was like Elena, so he kept it. The time passed in order to stay away from the Santoro range. Manuel decided to go to the war zone in Syria. Since Syria is the war zone, of course the battle of war is everywhere, and Manuel is trying to help it. But because Manuel carries a cross necklace, making the soldiers arrest him, Manuel was put into the hole to be locked there. Come 2 soldiers, and one of them is the translator, and asks what Manuel is doing here. Manuel replied that he just wanted to help. But they think that Manuel is an intruder of the enemy. Before leaving, the translator returned the Manuel's cross necklace. Elsewhere, 2 women named Maria and Christina are helped from the ministry security team to help Laguna. Their reason for this small town because the number of reports the last few months increased very highly. Maria asked about Jesus who wasn't caught when there was a shooting in public places. Laguna thinks Jesus is a good man, so he decided not have to catch him. They went to Jesus' house to interrogate. Laguna seeks Jesus who is taking care of the livestock, the animal's farm he is on. Laguna asks Jesus not to tell if he has killed Elena's husband 2 years ago. If Jesus tells this, he will be arrested, and his family will be miserable. Laguna came back early, but Jesus didn't join. Maria and Christina follow him, but what they see is Jesus who suicidally by shooting his own head. Time was passed. Paco met his wife and told her that he was tired of being the mayor. They have an animal slaughterhouse and a hotel. Murchie thinks Paco selfish because he wants to stop being mayor for tired, while she worked hard for their business. The past year, Paco felt that their relationship was like a partner than as a couple. It has been a common secret that Paco likes Elena, especially now it is clear when Elena's husband is dead. They argue and ended up with Paco, who decided to split home for a while. Meanwhile, in Paris, in a nursing home, a man's burglar man in the beginning of the series meets another man. He gave a necklace, and when he wear it, this man can control it into a doll. Elsewhere, Elena is with Roque in a restaurant. Elena plans to stay in Paris and move on, especially after knowing that her husband has died. Roque gives a gift for Elena, and the gift was one of the Judas coins that made it surprised. Elena remembers the words of his fake husband, who say this coin will return to her. Because panic, Elena called Paco and told him that the coin came back, and this made her scared. At the same time, the control doll came to this restaurant. It shows the gun, so people are running. He knows that the coin is here, and he then shoots Roque. Elena checked out, and she saw the doll looking for the coins, but Elena sees the coin. The doll was shot many times, but didn't work. Then Roque pulled the necklace he used. Suddenly, the doll died. When the situation is calm, Elena looks at that Judas's coin is not in the box. When she saw her legs, she saw the coin. It seems this coin will always follow her anywhere. The time passed. The pastor sent by the hire was up there to replace Manuel. And that person is Angelo. Angelo stays at the hotel and looks that his body is filled with tattoos. Then Angelo carried his suitcase who contained the black liquid. The next day, Angelo led Roque's funeral, but Paco couldn't find Elena there. At the same time, Maria and Cristina found the bone of Elena's husband, and they wanted Laguna to help identify it. Meanwhile, in Syria, Manuel and some other prisoners will be executed and will be taken to the desert. But when in the middle of the journey, the car that took them was attacked, and it turned out to be the translator freed them. Translators can only help them so far. There is a yellow car with a full gasoline. If they are lucky, they can use it to escape. Quickly, Manuel and 2 other prisoners ran near the car. The car key was there, but the car wasn't started. The translator tried to attract the attention of the army, though in the end he dies shot. At the same time, the car can run but very slowly. The army managed to pursue and entered the car. There was a fight, so that this car was off the control and had an accident. Manuel almost died, but he could turn the situation around. Back to Spain, Paco and Murch meet their lawyers to discuss the distribution of treasures after divorce. Paco doesn't want anything and willing to give it all for Murch, while Murch instead of thinking to divide 2 of all their treasures. Paco wants to start from 0, but because this discussion is not reasonable, they will do it again later. Meanwhile, Antonio saw Angelo gave something to the magic caster, an old woman who raised Elena's husband before. This old magic caster disposed of many dust and inherited inheritance in every corner of the city. Then Angelo met with Murch, who was feeling down. Angelo invited her to recognize in the church to alleviate her burden. Murch admits that she messes her marriage. This is because ignoring the house and Paco, as well as focused on her work. Murch promised if Paco accepted it back, she promised to change. Angelo gave Murch a card and asked her to store this card in Paco's clothes without Paco know it. In the night, Murch saw the water tunnel show a strange smoke. She went to the bar where Paco stayed to give him a clean clothes. And then she did it. Murch put a card from Angelo in one of the Paco jackets. While Paco is where else? As he came out, the town water tunnel took out more smoke and made this place dark. Paco wants to gather people because he will explain what happened this last month. Paco uses a jacket who already had Angelo card, and suddenly his body is slammed. Meanwhile, Angelo made a circle with the black fluid he was carrying. Antonio saw it and asked what he did. Angelo replied that he was trapping rats so he could not run away. Then he asked Angelo to pass it and surround the city with the liquid. Meanwhile, some of the city citizens have gathered in the bar. Paco plans to tell about Judas coins. This is not Manuel's action, but his enemy. But Paco's body is very painful, so he cannot continue the conversation, and Angelo took over. Angelo invited them to go to church. When Maria and Cristina come back to the hotel, they found the pig head that stuck to the door. Meanwhile, a child is playing the ball. But as he threw the ball out of the city, his ball bounced as if there had invisible walls there. This is Angelo magic that makes no one who can go out from the town. The next day, Elena has just got into town and looks that in this city is filled with a remarkable smoke. Elena can enter the city. It's mean that this barrier is just blocking people who want to go out. When Elena came in, Angelo and Santoro were aware that his last coin was near. Elena saw the old women magic caster who was pretending to be painful that she helped her. Laguna were afraid to decide to go away from the town. As he will come out, his car hit an invisible wall, so he accident. Maria and Christina are also aware that there is a wall there, so they are aware that they have been stuck in this town. Meanwhile, the old magic caster women asked Elena to drive her to her house, but it was a lie, and she said that on the second floor there were people waiting for her. Elena went to the second floor, and there she saw Paco with very bad condition. At the same time, Manuel has also arrived in the city and saw the liquid at the entrance gate, but he chose to enter it. Elsewhere, Angelo collects local people of the city in the church to take refuge. He asks them to calm down and go out, but Angelo locked them there and left it. Murcia, who was told earlier, could run away using the window, but she didn't tell anyone. Deliberately, Angelo threw cigarettes, making this church got fire. Meanwhile, Murcia went to Paco's place, and when she saw Elena took care of Paco, she raging and attacked her with brutal. Murcia revokes the Elena's Judas coin necklace, but Paco managed to separate them. Then Murcia go away and met Angelo, and gave Judas's coins to him, and now Santoro has 30 Judas coins. Elsewhere, the citizens who were trapped in the church were successfully got out after breaking down the church door. But in the fog, they were scattered and couldn't see. They tried to come out, but they realized that they were trapped in town. Paco and Elena saw Manuel, who came out of the church after bringing his weapon. Paco and Elena carry some Manuel pistols, and they are looking for Angelo. Angelo appeared with a white body, but Manuel couldn't follow him. Suddenly from the ground appears a large monster, which is the original form of Angelo. They shoot at Angelo's body, but not affected at all. Manuel was dragged and dropped from above, then Angelo disappeared. Although Angelo shows his real form, but Elena, Paco, and Manuel are still safe. They hide in the basement, but Angelo doesn't chase them. At the same time, either why the fog in the city disappeared. Perhaps because the duration is run out, or this magic is deliberately revoked. From the basement, there is a tunnel that can connect to the church. Meanwhile, in the church, Angelo collects residents under his control. They did the mise in the middle of the night. After completing, Angelo gave communion to the residents there. Murcia didn't eat it, but she still bring it. At the same time, Paco was in the church, and he brought the blood of the saints who were stored in the church. The blood then Manuel broke, and he put in his head and his eyes, and also a pigeon. By reciting the spell, Manuel can control this pigeon and see from this pigeon's eyes. This pigeon goes to a place where Manuel sees some people who are making luxury clothes, but there he saw some of the animals that were chirped and hum, but the man there noticed it, so he poked on Manuel. The time passed, Paco met Murch. All citizens of town are under the control of Angelo, who gave them communion. However, because Murcia doesn't eat it, makes you free. Paco asks Murcia to join him, but Murcia rejects it. During this time, Murcia resisted her suffering, like faced by Angelo's men. But seeing Paco with Elena is more painful for her, so she rejects it. Paco then left without finishing his bread. Meanwhile, Murcia met the old magic caster women and gave the rest bread that Paco left to her. With the Paco's saliva who left in the bread, it can be used as a spell. Elsewhere, Antonio released Laguna held by Maria and Christina. Antonio is aware that there is something wrong and want to leave soon. He explained when the Romans came and got what he wanted, then everyone would die. With 30 coins, the person will be too strong. Napoleon has 3 pieces, and that's why he can be one of the best military leaders all over history. Hitler also has 5 pieces. He knows that the Jews have this coin, so he slays them. Meanwhile, Paco was back to join with Elena and Manuel. But when there, Manuel fell into the hole, but Paco's attention was fixed to another place. He saw Murchi, who brutally attacked Elena. Murchi persecuted a needle in Elena's neck and made her unconscious, when Paco told Manuel, Elena, and Murchi disappear. The next day, quite a lot of luxury sedan cars came to the city carrying Santoro and his followers, who greeted by the city. They entered the castle, where inside Santoro could see the place was filled with animal carcasses. Angelo also welcomed Santoro and said that everything was prepared. At the same time, Paco and Manuel have also arrived at the castle. In the castle, filled with animal carcasses, but they are lucky because I can find Elena, even still unconscious. At the same time, Angelo and Santoro came, so Manuel followed him. But when Paco will go, he sees the old magic caster women in Elena's place, and make him more aware. Paco was unplugged the needle on Elena's neck, and made her wake up, but her blood didn't stop flowing from her neck. Paco attacked the old magic caster women, but this old magic woman showed her real body, which is a monster. With the feet like spiders, this magic creature attacks Paco, but he could fight and kill her. In another place, Manuel is in the room filled with the head of the animal on the wall until to the roof. There he saw Santoro, who was being bathed. Angelo is also there, and Angelo attacked Manuel to helpless. Santoro uses clothes that are soaked with animal blood, then wrapped in luxury clothes. Angelo explains that Santoro needs a strong man who can withstand temptations. Manuel could protect his coin even with the exam he experienced, and that's that Angelo gave the coin to Manuel. It turns out that the person who tranced and possessed Giacomo is Angelo. Then Santoro approached Manuel by bringing the spear that stabbed Jesus and the 30th of the Judas coins who had been collected. Santoro stabbed Manuel with the spearhead, though he didn't kill him. Santoro came out and was greeted with a rousing by his followers. At the same time, Paco brought Elena out the castle, so the Sodder's followers chased him. By stealing the car, Paco could bring Elena away from the castle. Meanwhile, Manuel recited the spell and took over the pigeon like before. This bird is interrupting Santoro. So when he was guard, Manuel pushed Santoro, so they fell and the Judas coins fell too. The Santoro's follower fight each other's this coin without care Santoro and Manuel anymore. And finally, they started fighting for the coin. But without the need to search, one coin king fell near Murch. Beside him, he saw people who can control people to steal this Judas coin. Murchi brings the coin, then go, and the man follows her. Meanwhile, with disappointment, Angelo changed himself to be Asian. He entered the mirror and could get to America. While Murchi was in one car with the Santoro follower. And then the first season of the series ended. At the beginning of the second season, the Santoro's follower hunt the Judas coins so badly even kill each other, while residents can only see fights without understanding what happened. In the night, it was Paco could kill the old magic women who attacked Elena because she was still alive. The old magic woman is returning to the castle filled with corpses. She went there to bring the Manuel and Santoro's corpse. She brought their corpses to her home, then wrote a spell on the skin. She forced Manuel's death body to swallow it, then she buried Manuel's body in the bunch of insects. Time passed, Manuel got up from his coffin in a frightened room with some people surrounding it. They didn't do anything, so Manuel explored this place. Outside, he can see a scary place. It seems like he was in the hell. Some devils took him to see Angelo. Angelo with heads like tentacles and is the leader of the devils. Angelo welcomes Manuel, while Manuel swears that he will go from this place. Angelo said that for thousands of years, he supports goodness and crime depends what is required. But now he meets new people who doesn't want anything, and that's why this person is very dangerous. A year later, two YouTubers named Haruka and his cameraman Jonas were in the city of the incident in the first season. The city is abandoned and already becomes a ghost city, so they will create content here. Even Angelo holes are still in the middle of the square. They enter a house for their content needs. But outside, they saw a man kidnapped from some masked man to get into the car. They cannot do anything because the events take place very quickly. They followed the car and got to the castle covered in the fence because the castle would be made into a hotel. By using drone, Jonas can see that behind the fence there are some people who seem to look for something like Judas coins. But when Jonas called his dronenia, he couldn't control it. So the drone hit him and made him thrown and killed. Elsewhere, Paco is now working in the fish market as a fish transport worker. After finishing the work, he went to the hospital to see the Elena who was coma after being revoked the needle that pierced her neck in the first season. Every day, Paco came and tried to talk with Elena. Paco bought a coffee for a while in vending machine. He received a call from Maria, who was Paco's shoot at the end of the first season. At that time, Maria was under the Angelo's control. She asked Paco's help to help her prove what happened a year ago was real. But Paco rejected her because at that time Maria and Christina tried to arrest Elena. When there, he saw a pastor or priest. The priest turned away, so Paco chased him, but he couldn't find him. Elsewhere, Laguna is in town to buy some books or newspapers about the information he needs. After that, he went to the hill where there were many windmills. In one of the mountains, it turned out that he and Antonio live there together. This wall of the mill is filled with photos and news related to the incident in the first season. Antonio has a blessing where it can get some information about 30 Judas coins. That's why Antonio likes a high place and has a mental disorder. Currently, Antonio and Laguna try to solve the mystery of this coin. The name Antonio, often heard lately, is a man named Barbaro. Antonio said that Barbaro is currently in a place that's full of painting. At the same time in New York, USA, in a rare Hubble place, undergoing a few of the paintings bid. Barbaro is not interested in the painting, and the target is a stone made of stone. This bald man is named Christian Barbaro, and now he is trying collecting 30 Judas coins. Apparently Angelo is also there and challenged Barbaro, so Barbaro must pay this inscription by $20 million, when the initial price is only $20,000. However, when Barbaro turned around, he couldn't see Angelo. Meanwhile in the castle, Haruka called the police, but when she came back, she couldn't find Jonas. Even his blood traces weren't there. Of course, this makes the police do not believe it. Because nothing can be done, this police chose leave away, while Haruka stayed here even until the night. From outside the car, she saw the old magic women who ran into the hall of the night. Haruka then chased her, but she was lost. As she leaned on the wall moved and showed the secret door. She then entered it, and there she saw many scary things. From the house, she sees a bathtub full of insects. In this bathtub is now Manuel buried. Suddenly, this old magic women attacked Haruka with brutal, but Haruka could fight back and escape from that place. She entered a house and plans to ask for help. But suddenly her phone became weird and showed her current record from her behind. When turned away, she saw the old magic women who still chased her. But at the same time, Miria came and this old magic women couldn't be found. Elsewhere, Antonio taught asleep as Laguna wrote what he said. Antonio said that Elena was careful with blind devils. Of course, Laguna doesn't understand the purpose of Antonio. Meanwhile, in the hospital, as usual, Paco to the hospital to visit Elena. When Paco spoke, suddenly Elena sequentials and her heart beat. With panicked, Paco called doctor and nurse, but when they get there, everything is fine, so that nothing they can do. Elena is coma for the past year. Apparently, the current Elena soul is being locked up in hell. Elena and some others were fear with the scary devil who watched them. But suddenly Manuel appeared and attacked one of the devils. Manuel knows that there is Elena stuck in there. Manuel tells that when Elena is now still alive, while he himself is dead. He also tells when Elena is free, she will have something very important that she should keep up with her life. Meanwhile in the castle, Haruka shows Maria the door of the secret door last night, but there they do not find this secret door. Mary thinks unsafe to investigate without help, so they will go to the psychiatric hospital. In this psychiatric hospital is where most castle victims are treated due to mental disorders. They meet the leader of this place named Dr. Giroud. They're here to talk to some victims of Angelo's control. Mary encountered the victims, and among them there was Sol and her friend. Not all citizens are treated here, some are treated in other hospitals. Nothing from them who want to tell Haruka about the incident in the city because it scared them. There, Haruka saw the man who was kidnapped as she was in the castle, and he was currently taken to another room. Meanwhile in France, Murchie woke up in a magnificent mansion filled with many guards. Murchie went to the yard, met a man named Legridge, people who go with Murch at the end of the first season. Murchie is the owner of 1 Judas coins. Legridge gave Murchie this house and whatever she wanted to dealing with her coin. He didn't steal this coin because this coin chose Murch. Legridge explained that he invited Murchie to join his group of 4 people, and with Murchie, this group will have 4 coins. The main goal is to collect the 30th of Judas coins. Then they went to a restaurant on the seafront. Legridge gave Murchie a man he could use for anything, like a slave to do everything what her needs. But Murchie doesn't need it, so she killed this man by throwing him from height. This is Murchie's ability with her Judas coins. Murchie doesn't need another man, because she just loves Paco. Elsewhere, as always, Laguna buy a book at the bookstore. He often saw his wife, but he couldn't see her, for fear his wife in danger. But today Laguna saw Maria and Haruka approach her wife. When Maria and Haruka come home, it turns out Laguna has been waiting for her. Laguna asked what they did to his wife. Maria replied that she was looking for Laguna, and that's why she met his wife. Laguna forced them to enter a dormant home. Laguna was alert to Maria because of being under the Angelo's control. Maria caught and tortured him. Maria replied that she searched for Laguna to find out what really happened in the castle at the time. Laguna believes it and explains that when he and Antonio is also doing the same. Laguna took them to the windmill, but there they couldn't find Antonio. Apparently, Antonio is on the windmill. Laguna went upstairs, and Antonio was cutting up the magazine. Antonio didn't believe Maria and Haruka, so he didn't want to get down before they left. Laguna goes back down and explains that Antonio only knows that something is related, but do not know how. An example is Antonio sure if the computer quantum is associated with Judas coins, but somehow he still didn't know. In addition, Antonio explains that Barbaro is the one who should be most be noticed. Haruka knows Barbaro because he is an organizational leader named Befam. Half Hollywood is a member of Befam. Meanwhile in France, Murchie woke up and heard the sound of crying. She checked it out and saw a child. The Murchie desired the child. She cannot have it before because she can't pregnant, and this child is Lagrange's way to seduce her. Murch really liked this boy and was already considered like her own son. Even legally, this child has also been her son. Lagrange came to collect the Judas coins who would Murchie give. But as he brought the coin couldn't go away from Murch, even made his finger cut it. This means that this coin just wants to be Murch. Meanwhile, in the hospital as usual, Paco is accompanying Elena, but as he massaged Elena, he found something tied in the Elena's stomach. Paco examined it, and it was the contents of the bag. There was a dry fetus. Paco called the nurse, but when they get there, they cannot find the fetus. Paco really sure what he saw was right, but he couldn't prove it. Meanwhile, in America, Barbaro is leading a seminar in front of Befam's member, who is a blue-dressed code. Barbaro breaks the eggs, but that coming out is a bird. After the seminar was over, Angelo contacted Barbaro and asked for his signature. Angelo knows what God Barrett's want to do with the inscription that he purchases at the beginning of the series and wants to stop it. But Barbaro rejected him. Angelo offers if Barbaro wants this world, then he can help him. But Barbaro replied that he didn't want this world because he wanted another world. Back to the hospital, Paco, who felt something that didn't get in this hospital, planned to bring Elena away. Meanwhile, Elena is still in a confusion with other prisoners. Above, she saw Manuel, who planned to release it. Manuel said when Elena holds a book, do not read it, but go to Lombardi. Manuel opened the door of the cage so that the devil could enter. Elena then escaped, while Paco had brought Elena from the hospital. But Paco was held and was arrested, while Elena was checked again by them. Paco managed to free his bond and find for Elena. He disguised into nurses and found Elena in a room. Apparently, the doctor finds out that Elena is pregnant. The doctor thinks this is the Paco's baby, but of course Paco denied it. Paco attacked them and took Elena left. He made Elena as if the corpse, so he could bring Elena away from the hospital. Meanwhile, in hell, Elena's position is cornered, and what she can do now is run, while Paco stopped the car of the body that brought Elena. Paco smelt Elena, apologizing and preparing to commit suicide. While in hell, Elena was successfully killed in a sadistic way, but because of this, she is aware again. Flashback to a year ago, Barbaro is in a library. A man opens up a tough-headed old book. Barbaro sat down, but he closed his eyes. The man who saw the book, his eyes burned in pain. While Barbaro, he'd go away while carrying the book. This is the vision of Angelo shows in Manuel in hell. Angelo shows that Santoro is also here. Angelo explains that the book that straws this Barbaro is the Black Book of the Maid Arab. This book is a magic book containing the call spell or summon spell, but this spell not only called devil, but something more dangerous. Back to the present, Paco and Elena, who are already aware, go to Paco's friend's place to find a place to stay for a while. Of course, Elena didn't like this, because before Elena was an animal doctor that had a good career. She just realized that many of her friends who died and her home was left. Moreover, Elena remembered where she was locked up in hell for a year, and especially currently she was pregnant. Paco cannot answer it and can only calm her down. Paco asked his friend to drive them to the doctor around here. They encountered a woman who was a former surgeon. Meanwhile, in Italy, the Pope knew that there was an intruder in the church and were looking for anyone who betrays him. To find out this intruder, the Pope uses a stick that can find out a lie. They are asked, are they intruders, and for those who lie will reveal. Another intruder realized that they cannot lie. Lagrange is also here, but behind it there is a magic to bow the roof so they can escape. The time passed. In England, Murch came to a luxury place to meet members of the Lagrange group. With Murchy, now this group has 5 members with 4 Judas coins. Lagrange explained that they received information about a man named Cardinal de la Cruz who had 2 coins. They want Murchy to go to Mexico to recruit de la Cruz, and if he refuses, she should grab the coins with any cost. Murchy has only 1 coin, while other members agreed to send Murchy to Mexico. Murchy rejected him because she didn't want to be far from her son, but she panicked and rushed away looking for her son. Downstairs, she saw the person who was wiped out the bloody floor, and she couldn't see her son. Lagrange said that her son is fine, and will be refunded after she returned from Mexico. Murchy doesn't like it, and then she is ready to fight. But other members are not afraid. Moreover, they win the amount of coins. Then, they chose not to fight, and Murchy decided to go to Mexico. Murchy went to the forest because the place of de la Cruz was in the middle of the forest with many anarchist militants. Until Cardinal de la Cruz, who is a priest, greeted her. In this forest there is a large abandoned house. In the evening, de la Cruz held a party to welcome Elena and also punished the intruder to be judged. The punishment is to behead their heads at once with a big doll like a Grim Reaper. Then tonight is followed by a party and held a big dinner. They all looked lower Murch, so Murchy made them all floating, except de la Cruz. De la Cruz knows that Murch here to invite him to join her group. De la Cruz shows that he has 2 coins, while Murchy has only 1 coin. Instead of joining Murch, he even wanted to buy Murch coins. De la Cruz shows a room that is filled with Bunch's messy money. But Murch rejects it and shows that she actually has 4 coins. With 4 coins, Murchy can grab the de la Cruz coins, and now she has 6 coins. Additional coins Murch loaned from Lagrange members group. But when Murchy will go, the Grim Reaper doll blocks her way. Murchy examined it, but from his body, she didn't find anything. Suddenly, Grim Reaper was attacked her and could cornering her. But a car crashed into the Grim Reaper doll, and the man was Barbaro that saved Murch from this place. Back to Paco's place, Paco and his friend carry a surgeon to check Elena. But when Elena's stomach enlarged as if she was already old pregnant, initially the surgeon thinks that Paco asked her to abortion Elena's baby, but the real is he just wanted to check it out. Because Elena's condition's getting worse, they must immediately do action. As time goes on, Elena's stomach is getting bigger, and Elena is in pain. But who come out from her stomach is a round object with a foot, like a spider running everywhere. But when the thing hiding under the wardrobe, it seems that this monster is dead. A week later, Elena was still confused, while Paco didn't tell that Elena gave birth to a monster. But Elena wants to see her baby. Paco then brings Elena met the surgeon who while eating with some people. Elena's baby is stored in the refrigerator, and Elena wants to see it. When Elena saw him, she was surprised and realized that she had just breathed a monster. This monster was taken out from the refrigerator to be shown in her doctor's friends. This monster is surrounded by removable mucus and shows the spider monster body. But it turns out this monster is still not dead. This monster attacked Elena, but Paco managed to save her and then killed this monster by stepped it until it was destroyed. From this monster body, Paco sees a strange key. Meanwhile, in Spain, Laguna wants to infiltrate the psychiatric hospital to find information. The trick is to pretend to be crazy and make as if Maria sent him there. Laguna was greeted with pleasure in this place. Laguna is still pretending to be crazy and see his crazy old friends who are staying here for a year. Meanwhile, in the other room, it turns out this psychiatric hospital is a camouflage to seek Judas coins from the members of the city citizens. From one of the citizens, there are seen the priest fighting that overheating the coin, and it turns out he brought the coin go. But from the next memory, he climbed a horse, then left, and they cannot find the coin anymore. Elsewhere, Murchie is being with Barbaro in the plane to go home. Murchie tells it that she has 6 coins. Murch reversed this aircraft so everyone were floating, except herself. Barbaro answers that he will take care of Murch well. Even Murch's son is safe, and when they land, they can meet. Barbaro also explained that he had more than 10 coins. Murchie still doesn't yet join the Barbaro. But she sees the video from 3 months when she in the future, saying that if joining Barbaro is the best option. Time passed, they landed, and Murch defined Lagrange at a restaurant. Murch explained that she had seized the Delacroix coin, but she also told that Barbaro had a lot of coins. Murch killed Lagrange with throwing him, and now clear that Murch chose to join the Barbaro. When returning, Murch was happy to come back to her son again. Back to Elena's place, Elena met Paco, who was already figure out of the keys found from the spider's stomach. Meanwhile, in hell, using his blood, Manuel can see the earth. Currently, he sees Paco and Elena, who is looking for a symbol in the key, which was a symbol of translation. Manuel saw them from the eye of the beggar. Manuel called Elena, and Elena realized it. Manuel said that who's sending monster in her stomach was Angelo. This is Santoro idea, and Manuel advisable Elena to throw the keys, but Santoro stops it. Meanwhile, Antonio and Haruka returned to the castle. There is a secret path to be able to enter the castle. They can get to the film cassette filled with the net. Haruka wants to record, but from the screen it sees many animal carcasses, such as the ceremony is done. But there she also saw the magician who made them scared and fled. Suddenly her phone is strange and remove all the videos and photos on her phone. Haruka called Maria and asked her to come to the castle. In the night, Maria met them in the castle. Maria examined, and she saw a doctor from the psychiatric hospital who was looking for a coin from the memory she saw before. There she saw a horse toy. It is aware that the horse she see is this horse toys, and the Judas coin is in this coin container. Back to Paco and Elena's place, they enter a translator organization building. They infiltrated in, and this place like a library. There they saw a door, but Elena keys couldn't open this door. They'd follow the rail that leads to the wall. Elena opened a roll that showed a door. The door doesn't use the keys, and they can open force this door, which shows a room. They entered this room, and there they found an old chest that was chained. With the key, Elena can open the crate that shows an old book that is chained. When they will open it, Paco remembers that Manuel reminds them not to read this book. Suddenly, a machine that filled with weapons appeared, so they had to escape. Paco could stop this machine before hit Elena. They can get out of this building, but somehow people there look at them. They asked for the book, and of course Elena chose to leave. It seems that all citizens in this place are under control to seize this book, but they could escape. In another place, Laguna is sneak into the psychiatric hospital, and he saw a doctor who had carried the horse toy from the castle. From the coin container, he managed to find one Judas coin that made him happy. He called his boss and told him. It turns out that the boss is Barbrow, and Barbrow has received this coin. With this coin, now Barbrow already has 30 Judas coins. Then Barbrow went to the desert in Peru. Barbaro is looking for something, and whom he is looking for is a buried thing on the ground. Back to Paco's place, Paco and Elena still try escape by using taxi. But suddenly a car crashed into them. This is the person who always watching the book as a target. Paco and Elena are happy in the quite bad. They run away by get onto a bus. Elsewhere, Antonio panic because he knows that Paco and Elena are in danger and must be rescued soon. But the problem is, he doesn't know where Paco and Elena now. Meanwhile, Laguna sent a message containing the Highclere word on Maria for his research in the mental hospital. Maria doesn't understand what it means, but at the same time, Haruka called her and told that Paco and Elena were in dangerous. Maria asked Haruka to find information about Highclere. Time passed. Haruka found that the Highclere was an organization for the rich, but basically the rich man who arranged the world from the shadows. Barbaro is part of this organization. In addition, Haruka heard that Barbrow has the power to control the mind. Antonio also tells that Elena should look for symbols in the book that can protect them. At the same time, Barbaro and Murchie are in the middle of the sea. Barbaro made a doll of green clay, then kept it on a table filled with strange symbols. Back to Paco's place, Paco received a call from Maria, who told him that they should look for symbols that could protect them. But it turns out that controlling the people who are watching the Elena's book is Barbaro. They cooked steal the book, but Paco and Elena certainly didn't give up and managed to reclaim the book and then escape. They continue to run and get in a temple. A dog ragged because Barbaro's dolls are pursuing them, but they could climb the fence and entered the temple. In the temple, they see the carving on the wall and see many unique carvings like stars, but somehow they feel that here they could safely. Elsewhere, Haruka performed live videos on YouTube for the subscriber. She explains that anyone is planning to destroy the world. Haruka wants her followers to remember this symbol. In another place, Laguna's still in the psychiatric hospital to infiltrate again to find information. From one of the rooms, he sees someone who uses tools like VR and can move something without touching it. Meanwhile, Haruka's followers go to the temple where Elena and Paco are. They all wear shirts with symbols that can keep Barber's dolls away. Someone picked up Paco and Elena so they could go safely. By passing the way with Haruka followers who used this star symbol, Barbrow doll couldn't touch them. Barbrow has noticed that he cannot take the book, but he cannot do anything. Paco and Elena meet Antonio and Haruka at the station. Time then passed. Elena and Paco went to Italy by wearing a shirt with the star symbol. They are here to find Lombardi like manual instructions. Somewhere, Lombardi is in the church alone, but he saw someone and somehow chased him. Suddenly, the green people toward it and turned into Lombardi, while Lombardi was in pain. At the same time, Elena and Paco have come to this place and have told the receptionist to meet Lombardi. As is known, Lombardi they meet is Barbrow with his 30 coins. This Lombardi took them to his room and immediately asked for the book. Elena plans to give it, but Paco doesn't trust Lombardi yet. Lombardi invites them to a walk where he shows magnificent buildings in the church. But Barbrow must leave soon, so he asked his men to replace him controlling fake Lombardi. But he made a mistake by saying that the city of Paco was on the beach. They know that this Lombardi is fake. He has not pretended and threatened them. But Barbrow's men shouldn't deliver to break this hand of doll. This is used by Paco to push it until it falls. When landing, Lombardi's body turned into green. Elsewhere, Maria is at the Benfa members' seminar. The reason why Barbaro must go is to lead this seminar. In this seminar, Barbaro explains that they all know that this world will be destroyed, but do not know when. That is why, to know when this world will be destroyed is to start by their own hand. One of the important people who will be a Barbaro partner is a man named Reginald. Reginald is a super quantum computer maker. After the seminar was over, Maria met Reginald as if she was his fans, but actually she was exchange of their bags to take his laptop. Elsewhere, Elena and Paco fled and arrived at a cafe. Accidentally, they met with the real Lombardi there. They went to the church, and Lombardi opened the book and asked them not to see the book. Lombardi uses a mirror, so he doesn't see the book directly. From one of the pages, the view of a picture of a big eye in the sky called the name of the god's eyes. This magic is very dangerous, even can destroy the world. Lombardi explains that the Denmark's mathematician has successfully found that this book is written in Inca dialect in Peru, but this mathematician disappears. Meanwhile, in hell, Manuel is being punished and will be discarded by Angelo. However, at the same time, a lightning grabbed the tree and made the cable broke, so split the Lombardi's body, which of course killed him. The death of Lombardi is known by Angelo and Antonio. Angelo stopped Manuel's disposal because he now needs Manuel. In another place, the old women of the living in the castle is making a ritual. The ritual is to revive Manuel and Santoro, who have died long enough. Their bodies are destroyed like zombies, and they're back to stop Barbaro. Meanwhile, Maria has joined Haruka and Antonio. Antonio realized that Manuel and Santoro returned to life and worked together. Meanwhile, Maria tried to access the Reginald's laptop, but his laptop uses password. While in the psychiatric hospital, Laguna began resistance and invited people who were held there to escape. They tried to open the door, but the card who Laguna stolen wasn't open it. Laguna knows that Sol has the power, and he wants Sol to destroy the door. Sol tried it, and she managed to do it. Not all people held there could escape, and some were arrested again. In the basement, it turns out that Antonio and the others have been waiting for them. With a minibus, they could escape from this place. Back to Paco and Elena, they confused where they should go with Lombardi's death. But when they were on the edge of a swimming pool, something pulled Elena and tried to drown her. Paco moves fast and saves Elena. But instead, just Paco is drowning. But soon after, Paco appeared in a bathtub, because that did this as merch. Back to Laguna Place, they left the minibus, because it was running out of gasoline, and then they went on a walk on foot. Antonio explains that there are two cores. The first is the place marked the Black Stone. The Barbaro ritual will be done there. The eyes of God will emerge from the sky, and everyone will die. The second core is in a place like the church, but with many cables. It turns out that the Danish mathematician was named Max in the Antonio group. They rest and Max could open the Reginald laptop. They follow Antonio, who took them to an abandoned building. From the walls covered by the posters, they saw the word download. By accessing the Regal laptop, they find the plane ticket to Barcelona. This means that this second core is in Barcelona. Laguna and some others went to Barcelona by bus, while some people pick up and arrested by the police. In other place, Manuel and Santoro have arrived in Italy by using the plane. At the same time, Elena also just got to the airport. Elena wants to go to Madrid, but she doesn't get tickets. Elena received a call from Manuel, who invited her to meet somewhere. Manuel and Santoro mad and attacked the officer. Manuel was shot, but he was a zombie, so not affected a bit. Manuel could break free and finally met Elena. Elena gave the book to Manuel, but at the same time, Benfa member has been surround them. Benfa members can be known because they used blue clothes. Manuel wants Elena to leave because they just want the book. Manuel holds Benfa members, while Santoro reads the book in the bathroom with the help of the mirror. But to open the page, he asked others person to open it. This man was in pain, while Santoro memorized the number written in the book. Santoro returns, and seeing Manuel has slaughtered all members of Befum. They escaped using the car that was Elena stolen. Santoro said that they needed the Eye of Blood that popes owned. Another place, Antonio and the others have arrived in Barcelona, and they are looking for a church filled with the wires. Antonio suddenly climbed up a building and pointed to a building. The building is a supercomputation center. They change clothes and follow the tour in the supercomputer. There it is seen there are many servers and cables, as Antonio said. They follow the blue-dressed man, who means BEFA members, but they cannot get into guarded another building. They should find another way and choose to use underground path. They found an elevator who could take them upstairs. However, they found was a huge turbine for ventilation. Meanwhile, Santoro and Manuel have arrived at the Vatican to see Pope. Of course, Santoro wasn't welcomed well because he was a traitor, but because of Manuel, they can meet with Pope. Manuel was welcomed, while certainly not with Santoro. They explained that Barbaro would destroy the world, so they wanted to borrow the Eye of Blood. But Pope rejected him, so Santoro was forced to attack him by coaxing him to throne. Manuel told Santoro to release Pope, but they still bring the Eye of Blood. Then their next goal is Peru. In Peru, they saw many members of BEFA. They continue to follow BEFA members and attack some people so they can disguise. Back to Laguna's place, they must pass this turbine to get to their destination. With its strength, Sol can make this turbine slowly, so they can get through this turbine safely. But when Laguna passes this turbine, Sol is fatigued and drawn her power, so Laguna is split, dead suddenly. Now they can see supercomputer right in front of them. This supercomputer is used to determine the necessary coordinates that are still not found, but that appears not a number, but a code. The first number has been found. From the front door of the police station was given confirmation to turn off this computer, but Beefam rejected it, so it took a shoot. Meanwhile, in Peru, Manuel went alone, while Santoro with Elena. Manuel stole a motorbike to go to his destination, in the center where this line gathered. But Manuel is difficult to find where this point gets together. While Elena and Santoro were asked to use Hazmat's clothes, though they are in the middle of the desert. On the other hand, Manuel motorbike strikes and cannot be used again. As a result, he had to continue his journey by walk. At the same time, Paco woke up using Befham's clothes. Paco went out to find out, and there he met Murch. Murch had changed the Paco's mind. As a result, Paco didn't remember anything. One of that make their marriage was break up because Murch cannot get pregnant, but with the adopted child, makes their families complete. Back to Elena and Santoro, they and some others are sent to the underground. There they find places like Temple. That attracts their attention is an unknown flying object, or UFO. There Barbaro explains that this UFO are found in the 1970s. The discovery was hidden until Barbaro could operate it. It is estimated that this UFO is already on Earth for 3,000 years old. This UFO is not used to go to space, but to go to other dimensions. But only 30 people who can go, while here there are more than 50 people. Then Barbaro determined who he was going to carry, so the rest he killed. At the same time, Elena saw Paco with Murcha, and she realized that there was a strange with Paco, and she had to be saved him. Now 30 people who entered this UFO, and one of them was Paco. Inside there, they can see the monitor showing that Reginald, who is still looking for coordinates to go. Barbaro explains the Judas coin function is to protect themselves when the god's eyes appear. Because remember, when the eyes of the god appear, all that he saw will die. Moved to Manuel, he now issued Eye of Blood and set the numbers there according to what the Santoro found in the previous sacred book. With the right coordinates, the Eye of Blood reacts, and now Manuel got where he should go. In the sky, he saw a helicopter that brought the Barbaro bought in the beginning of the story. Elena wants to save Paco, but the entrance was welded, so it cannot to be opened. Santoro controls one of the soldiers to kill another army and then commit suicide. Meanwhile, Haruka wants to stop the supercomputer so as to not get this coordinate. Just one more code, but the police come until stops this supercomputer. But they are too late because this coordinates have been found, and Barbaro has received it. Elsewhere, the helicopter carrying the previous inscription puts it into a hole that is the core of the line in the desert. This is while in Peru, Elena and Santoro found a rock that can be shifted so they can enter. Murchie already knows this situation and will take care of it. This coordinate function is the code to be pressed to activate this UFO. This UFO plane then spins and starts drifting. Elena and Santoro are still on this UFO plane, but only those two who do not have Judas coins, so they are in danger. Murchie and Paco have been waiting for them. Because Paco's mind is changed, so he attacks Elena. Paco plans to kill Elena, but Elena has reversed the state. Santoro reminds Merchant to kill Elena, because they can use it to negotiate with Manuel, who trying to stop this. Santoro told her because he was ready to move to Murch's side. Meanwhile, Manuel has arrived at the ancient Pervascable place. The army shot him, but because it is not affected, the armies chose to leave because of scared. With the Eye of Blood, Manuel made a big tornado that could even drop helicopters just for a while. From the sky looked at the strange line in the desert that shone the light. This UFO fly just above the inscription. Barbrow reads the spell of the book to call the God's Eyes. From the sky appears big eyes looking to Earth. This UFO floated into the eyes of the god, while Manuel tried to stop him. He managed to hold this UFO and made the passengers thrown, but only for some time. Because thrown, Paco is faint and unconscious. Because he wanted to save him, Elena kissed Paco. And with this kiss, Paco is back, wake up, and remembering his memory that Murch remove. The situation is more become chaotic, and they see there is a skull derived from a clothes. Paco and Elena use this outfit while Murchie and Santoro use coins to survive through the Eyes of God. The Eyes of the God turned into galaxies, while Barbaro continued to say spell despite having to hold this pain, and UFO successfully entered the Eyes of the God. The time passed, Angelo appeared and woke up Manuel, who's still in faint. Then Barbaro has managed to go to another dimension, which means Manuel failed to stop them. Angelo asked Manuel to destroy the Eye of Blood, and suddenly Manuel floated. In the sky there is no Eye of God, but Manuel still floats into the sky. Time passed, Manuel woke up, and he was outside the castle that looks normal. There he entered it, and he saw the people was normal. There he saw Elena with another man. It looks like that Manuel is in the world similar to the world he come before, but it's a little different. But the citizens arrested because they saw a UFO that landed in the forest. And then the series season 2 ended.